Merry Christmas, y'all. Making a video for you on the Sunday before Christmas. I got this project for the most part done, but it didn't turn out, or it's not finished like how I want it to be, so I'll eventually go back to this and show you guys. But I'm doing this video not only because I've been interested in doing this, but a subscriber actually asked me to work on this part, and I finally got what I was looking for and mounted up. It took a little while, but I finally got an exhaust up underneath the golf cart. So for starters, that is a little I think it's classified as a pit bike muffler. It's a little 1-inch can, or 1-inch inlet. Let me get around here. Yeah, it's just one little it's a 1-inch inlet from the exhaust pipe coming back to it, and then it's got an anodized blue nozzle at the back end. It's slightly angled down away from the hitch. So I'm not 100% sure if this is where I'm going to keep it, because as I load this onto the truck, sometimes the very end of the hitch can scrape the ground depending on what if I'm on an unlevel surface when I'm loading it into the truck. And that's actually a video I need to make too, and how I load it into the truck. But I found that this was, for now, a safe area for me to mount it. It's very secure. I like the center look of an exhaust, so this worked out really well. And the flex pipe goes all the way up to the engine. I'll show you that in just a minute. And I did that in a very special way. So yeah, this is where I have it. I've got it just held on by two hose clamps. I actually need to trim those so they're not they don't have very long ends to them. I don't like them hanging out that far, but it's mounted on there pretty good, and it is solid. I've already tried to shake it loose, and it's not going anywhere. Alright, before I show you guys what I've done on the inside towards the engine and how to get the exhaust to the back end, let me start off by saying the way I did it was not intended to make the golf cart louder. I've seen a lot of people straight pipe a golf cart or try and do different mufflers, and it becomes obnoxiously loud, especially how a golf cart runs at a steady RPM and not like a vehicle where you're shifting. So if you're going straight, it may sound one way, but then as you go up a hill, the engine bogs down with the load, and it can become very just god awful. So when I did this exhaust, the idea wasn't to make it louder, it was to allow much higher airflow. And that comes with when we did, or I did, the air intake. It definitely opened up the restrictive air box and allowed more air to go in, but the system has to be balanced. You have to let that air out. When I started looking at the factory exhaust, it has a, let me get over here, this little pipe sticking down there. That is a 1/2-inch little pipe that allows all the exhaust from the golf cart to go out, and that's really restrictive. So after the airbox modification, we went to 1.5 inch diameter to allow air in, and it only has a 1/2 inch tube to come out. That's really restrictive. So wanted to allow more airflow, and I will say that I have noticed quite an improvement with the engine. It's a lot more responsive when hitting the pedal in between RPM. So once the engine's already turned over and firing, the pedal response is much better, just because it's not fighting to push all that exhaust out. So the idea is to allow a lot more airflow out. You can make it louder if you want, but that's on you, depending on what you like. I live in a pretty close neighborhood. Everybody's close together. So when I take this around, I really don't want to be annoying the neighbors with a really loud single cylinder engine just buzzing by. So that's why, for me, I didn't want to make it that much louder. But hold on one second, I'll show you the engine. Okay, I'm not exactly proud of my handiwork here, but like I said, I'm not done with this because I didn't have the exact materials that I was looking for at hand, so I'm going to need to order something else. But if you notice, I have the original exhaust on here, and then the flex hose going all the way down into the back of the golf cart. And the reason I did this was I'm using the original exhaust as a baffle. I want that can to trap the explosion, the audible sound of the exhaust, and then allowing it to go down the flex hose to the back. So it's a, it's somewhat factory and then somewhat aftermarket. Some of you guys might want to just take this whole unit, the factory muffler off, throw it aside and weld up your own exhaust system. That's fine, but that's going to be really loud. So for me, I'm using the factory muffler to contain that sound, but I want a lot more airflow going through. What I've done is, let's see if I can get the camera around here. I've cut a hole into this cooling shield and then directly into the muffler all the way into the middle to the main area where the exhaust is going to come through. And normally it'd have to go through a bunch of baffles and padding and many different tight corners, but I drilled directly to the middle, and then I put just a small male-to-male pipe that self-tapped right into the muffler. And then this is what I need to go back and fix, is used flex hosing from there, flex exhaust. I had it for like a small generator just to make sure the exhaust got out from underneath where we were keeping it, but I want to go and find a bigger, better, more proper sized hose or flex exhaust for this, and I've wrapped it with some AC tape for now just to make sure it doesn't leak into the engine compartment. For y'all that didn't know, the engine uses the cooling fan and actually blows it over the engine head into this exhaust cooling shield and then down through the bottom of the cart. So I didn't want to remove this. It just helps with airflow, getting it through the engine and out the bottom of the golf cart. So I kept that on there. And then this is just for, you could say, testing purposes. But this is what I have it attached to now. I have a little self-tapping screw that goes through into the hose, so it's not going to pull out. It's not held on just by tape. Don't get me wrong there. The tape is just to keep it from leaking. I'm using a 1-inch a 1-inch male-to-male little pipe that I got from Ace. So this is a 1-inch tube. I want to find something a little bit bigger, probably about a 1.5 inches where I'd like to be. So I'll end up revisiting this, but I made sure that it's not going to hit anything. No moving parts. It's nowhere close. It's also nowhere close to the body that it could melt, and made sure that it's not going to rip off the back of the muffler if the engine moves, because the engine moves with the rear axle, but the exhaust is mounted to the body. So, if I were to make this a solid exhaust pipe, it would be very easy to break it because the engine moves where the mounting does not. So just something to think about when doing this. If you're going to mount it, just be cautious as to what is moving independent of each other. So just showing you guys for now. I wanted to get this done before Christmas. I do like it. I do think it's a very valuable upgrade, especially for performance, but not being obnoxiously loud. So there's that. And I got one more thing to show you guys. I will be doing a video on this later because the other one hasn't come in yet. But I finally got one of my bucket seats in. and mounted. And you can see that I'm not done yet, and I'm missing one. I ordered these 2 days later. This one came in, and I haven't seen the other one yet, so I'm thinking it might be back ordered, or just caught up in the holidays. They're called Pro High Back Seats from Jegs. Do I have the sticker? No, I took it off. They're a polymer plastic bucket seat, and it actually already has 6 mounting positions underneath it to attach to whatever you're mounting it to. And I'll do a video later once I get the other one mounted in there of these. So expect that to come soon. That'll probably be in January, and whenever I get the other one mounted up. But yeah, wanted to show you guys that real quick. And here, let me kick it over. This isn't going to be the best sounding quality comparison, but you can at least hear it. So it's not much louder than the factory muffler, but I can definitely tell that there is a lot more air movement through it. The engine doesn't hesitate to accelerate. Well, guys, you have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.